We continue on in our NFL preview of the 2025 season here at Sports by the Book. Live, as always, from the South Point Hotel and Casino here in lovely Las Vegas. I am Jeff Parles. She is Alex White. Thrilled to be with you today, Alex. We are previewing the New York Football Giants here on this edition of our 2025 NFL previews.
Let's go to the NFC East and a team that is projected to be at the bottom of this tough division.
Yes, they are. They were there at the bottom a year ago, a disastrous 3-14 season in 2025. Amazingly enough, Joe Shane, Brian Daboll, both survive. They both survive long enough to draft their QB of the future, who we likely won't see much of this year, Jackson Dart. By the way, if you had Jackson Dart of being the first Giant named in this program today, congratulations on cashing a nice-sized bet. They also get Abdul Carter at the top of the draft and a totally new-look quarterback room here with Shane and Daboll realistically on the hot seat. And Alex, it all begins with the wily veteran who is now on his fourth team in 5 years. Crazy enough.
Yeah.
And that's, of course, Russell Wilson, who comes over from Pittsburgh after bursting onto the scene with about 6 weeks of high-end play, and then he reverted back to what he was in his time in Denver.
It has been very crazy, right? An elite quarterback at one time, and it was not good in Denver. Like you mentioned, a mixed bag in Pittsburgh, and now we find him here in New York. It'll be very interesting. I do think Brian Daboll's seat is very hot. It does stink, though, for both him and the GM because, I mean, they have done very good in the draft leading up to this point, and now it seems like they have a team that they can build from. But with that being said, the Giants have one of the toughest schedules in the league, if not the toughest schedule. So you're taking a look at it right now on the screen. They have to play the NFC North, which we know is a very compact, good division with a lot of upside here for the Bears and the Vikings, with the Lions and Packers, who have been good the last few years. And then they have to play the AFC West, who has gotten very competitive with a lot of coaching changes there with the Chiefs, Broncos, Chargers, and the Raiders. So
it's brutal. And then not only that, Alex, they have a late bye as well. It's a week 14 bye. And just look at the top of that schedule. They're a good-sized dog in Washington week 1. They'll be a similar dog against Dallas. They're going to be a dog pretty much just looking at that schedule. Alex, what, you have them favored in 1, maybe 2 games going into this season, favored at New Orleans, and that's pretty much it. At least on the surface, it is a brutal schedule. And again, Giants win total because of that insanely tough schedule, 5.5 with the juice on the under to have based off of the juice. And there are 5 teams at 5.5 when we started recording this. They're the second highest juiced under team. Only New Orleans at -150 is projected to be worse based off the juice.
To your point, Jeff, I mean, really, I could kind of make a case that they could be a favorite against the Cowboys in the last week as they are hosting. So give them a little bit of points there for home field. But I mean, that's really it. Where is that New Orleans here on the schedule?
In week 5.
In week 5, there they are, kind of a not a huge favorite, though, right? So we'll see. But really, after that week 6 through week 12 is going to be brutal for them as well. They have to face the Eagles, go to Denver, go to the Eagles again, and then host the 49ers. So just that time between week 6 and week 12 is going to be brutal for them.
Just the first 4 weeks are awful, too. I mean, really just that little sandwich in New Orleans. And then it's just brutality until, realistically speaking, the bye, even at New England on a Monday night, assuming that game doesn't get flexed out if the Giants are 1-11 at that point, is a difficult one. You know, I'll say this, though, like, we're making this out to be doom and gloom for the Giants. It's weird, though, because you look at the roster, Malik Neighbors is a legitimate top 10 receiver in this league. Tyrone Tracy had a really nice year a year ago. Their offensive line, you have to assume, will be improved after last year's debacle. Also getting Andrew Thomas healthy for a whole season will be a big deal. Their quarterback play will be better, even though we don't love Russell Wilson. Their quarterback play will get better. But again, facing this gauntlet, it is very difficult to see where you can come up with 6-7 wins in order to push over that 5.5 win total, Alex.
And I'm glad that you did bring that up, because even from a power rating perspective, I mean, I really do have them about 23rd, 24th in the league. So that's not terrible. But when you compare that to the power ratings of these teams that they're going to be playing, that's where we make this line and have to imagine that they could be a pretty good size underdog or an underdog at least. But I do like what I've seen from them. I like what they did in free agency. I mean, they knew that they were on the hot seat. They went out and got a lot of guys, especially for that defense, filled a lot of holes. And then we're very fortunate, you brought it up, Abdul Carter just fell right to them, of course, with Tennessee going with a quarterback, and he was definitely one of the best in that draft. So defensively, I do think that they will be very good. Got a lot of help for Dexter Lawrence added to that line. Linebackers look pretty good. And then the secondary added there too with Holland and Paulson Adebo. So I don't know. The defense I think could be very good. A lot depends offensively, like we talk about every team, with the quarterback and what we're going to get from Russell Wilson.
You know, I'll just say this, defensively speaking, you look at this defense, it has the potential to be a top flight defense in the NFL. Again, you have Dexter Lawrence, who's arguably the best interior lineman in the National Football League. You have Brian Burns, who had a down year, again, still a highly sought after pass rusher. And then you mentioned it, you get Abdul Carter at number 3. Again, only a potential generational two-way player in Hunter, and then Ward, the quarterback of the team that needed a quarterback, going in front of Carter. And, it's plus 250 on Abdul Carter to win the Defensive Rookie of the Year, which feels pretty darn good, all things considered. Even though, again, he is the betting favorite. We don't love betting those short numbers in the award markets. But you know what? It may well be a steal by the end of this year. I think Carter has the potential to be the best player on this defense, even with the elite Dexter Lawrence already on that defense. And you mentioned other offseason acquisitions. They get a Debo from New Orleans to be their number 1 corner. Big improvement. They get Javon Holland from Miami in free agency. Both those guys, big improvement at the safety position. You're allowed to move Banks over to the other side. That's a big deal for the New York Giants. But again, Alex, I just come back to look at this schedule. This schedule is a nightmare. And also, too, Brian Daboll is going to likely be one of the 2 or 3 favorites to be the first coach fired this year when those markets really populate the market. Seeing this Giants schedule, there are other guys I want to bet in that market. Seeing this Giants schedule, it scares me to even look at that because let's say they start 0-6 because they get Philadelphia in a short week. Like that means they lose in New Orleans, a game they're probably the only one of the few games they might be favored in. They are 0-3 in the division. They lose to Kansas City and the Chargers as well. It's hard to see Daboll surviving past week 6 if they start 0-6. And it may not even be his own fault. It just might be that, hey, they are playing a gauntlet. This is a team that is just still not good enough to compete with a high-end schedule. And I like Brian Daboll. I think Brian Daboll is going to be a head coach again in this league whenever the Giants fire him, whether it's in 2026, 2027, wherever that may be. But this schedule is so ridiculous that I can't really make a good argument other than going under this 5.5, Alex. It just is such a gauntlet for the New York Giants this year.
I will say I think it would be a big mistake. I think they should give him a shot. I mean, looking at this schedule, just one more year at least, especially as you mentioned, we know that Jackson Dart is the quarterback that he does want, and they want to give him a full year behind Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson and then see what they've got. So, I mean, I hope that they can be competitive at least and steal a few here, and we can see what Daboll can do with his full team and a couple years under his belt. But you're right. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be a very, very tough schedule. I think I had them winning 4 games this year. And so you're right. Under would be the only way that I would want to play this. I can't even find a few to add some more with it that could potentially be a pick anywhere. And I mean, the numbers are telling you right there, 70-1 to win the conference, 150-1 to win the championship. I mean, it's going to be an uphill battle for this Giants team. I will say, though, the weapons are there as well. So offensively, if they can work this out and work together, because, I mean, very impressive play that they got from their running back last year in Tracy, and he missed a few games and still had 839 yards. They go ahead and they add Scadaboo to their roster, which he fell pretty late, and they got him later on, and that's the thunder that they've been looking for in their backfield. So I do think that they could be competitive. I'll just say that.
I'll just say this with the Giants. One last note on at least just hammering this schedule home. You look at just the win totals, too, with all these teams. The only teams with a sub-8 win total on this schedule are, again, depending on the book, Dallas. Some are 7.5. Here at the South Point, it's 8 as we record this. New Orleans and the Raiders. That's it. Those are the only sub-8 win totals on this schedule. It's brutal. It's brutal. That's 4 games. And
that is crazy.
Again, it's a really bad draw. And again, a really bad year for Shane and Daboll, who need to win this year, or at least show progress moving forward. And again, they were allowed to pick their guy. They picked Jackson Dart at the end of the first round. They trade back in. It is, again, maybe they keep him around for, even if the Giants go 2-15, 3-14 again, maybe they keep him. They keep Brian Daboll and company around, which also then the Giants end up with the first pick and Arch Manning comes out. Then the Giants have a really gigantic decision on their hands of, hey, we just traded up and used capital to move up for Jackson Dart. Do we take Arch Manning in 1 and try to trade Dart, or do we auction off the number 1 pick and get a Caleb Williams level package back? Like, that's base, or you understand what I'm saying, a Bryce Young level package back, which turned into Caleb Williams, right, which shows the other way of how that could end up going the wrong way for you. So it looks brutal. It really does look brutal. I'm really looking for angles where you and I both agree the Giants on paper are clearly better than they were a year ago going into the year.
Yes.
It's just that they got saddled with the worst possible schedule. And look, they're going to have to play Jackson Dart at some point, especially if they get out 1-7, 1-8. You're going to have to play him. You're going to have to see what you got, because if you are in line to get the first overall pick,
yes,
with a can't miss Manning going to be the number 1 pick, assuming he comes out after this upcoming year, you have to know and be certain, hey, we are either keeping that pick and trading Jackson Dart, or we are trading out and trying to get a king's ransom. You have to know if you're doing that, especially if you're bad. And again, that totally changes if the Giants get out and get off to a reasonable start and Russell Wilson finds a little bit out of Seattle energy again.
For those of you in the betting world like us, and that's probably why you're watching this video, I'm sure there will be bets available very soon if we will see Jackson Dart or not, because there have been a lot of speculation about that. I'm curious, what do you think? Because last year they went 0-6 against division opponents. What do they have to do this year to help make that argument more compelling to keep both Shane and Daboll?
Really, it's competitive. I think it's competitiveness. Like, this schedule is so bad. Now, here's the deal. Week 1 against Washington, we're going to learn a lot about both of those teams, because now the Commanders are now no longer hunting. They're the hunted.
Correct.
It's a huge difference for a young team going in to this upcoming year. And look, it's a sub-7. It's 6.5. And I'm not overly surprised by that. And the Giants, again, coming with absolutely no expectations this year. Russell Wilson is, that's the other factor too. Russell Wilson is playing for his NFL life here. Because if Russell Wilson does not play well this year, that could be it.
Yeah.
That could very well be it. And that actually, in all honesty, the last few years may have absolutely hurt Russell Wilson's Hall of Fame campaign, which is probably on his way to Canton. Now, not so certain about that, especially with the Manning Rivers logjam that's going to be created there for a while. And also, too, Aaron Rodgers is likely going to retire after this year, and Aaron Rodgers is going in first ballot. So that's another guy from this era that's going to have to get in before Wilson, who's retiring in the near future. But it wouldn't stun me if the Giants pick off Washington week 1. It wouldn't shock me, because Daniels could go backward. We've seen this in the past with these younger teams with expectations fall flat on their face week 1, and it takes them a few weeks to get going. You know, I also could see the Commanders coming out and beating the Giants 35-10, even with that good Giant defense. So we're going to learn a lot early. Yep. If the Giants come out and win week 1, all right, then things could be a little bit different. If the Giants get clocked and don't cover a 6.5 point spread in week 1, yeah, this could be every bit as ugly as we said it could be.
Yep. But then week 2, I mean, they got another shot right there with the Cowboys and them going through a lot. So those first 2 weeks are very important for this Giants team. Absolutely.
Absolutely. To say the very least. And you know what, Alex, just looking across the board, like there are really not that many good bets to be had with this team. I don't want anything to do with Neighbors, even though I think he'll have a big year. They're going to be trailing a lot of games, so his yardage is going to be moved up. Obviously, I don't want anything with Russell Wilson or Jackson Dart or whoever the hell is going to be a quarterback midseason. Could even see Jameis in there from time to time. Daboll to be the first coach fired is an interesting one, but with them drafting Dart, you have to imagine that the plan is, hey, Shane and Daboll are getting at least 2026. But we'll see, Alex. Again, I just don't see anything good amounting from this giant team this year, Alex. Really don't.
No, it is really tough. I will just say with the Malik Neighbors, though, could be a sneaky good fantasy wide receiver because they are going with the same 3 wide receivers, hoping that they have better quarterback play. And you mentioned it. Neighbors is definitely going to be the number 1 target. So,
Alex, anything else on the Giants before we say bon voyage here for this preview?
That is it for me with the Giants. And I will say, of the 5 teams with that 5.5, I mean, I like 2 overs and 1 nothing. And this one is a heavy lean to the under here. It is going to be a very, very tough schedule.
Yeah, I don't see more than 3 or 4 wins. And it's not their own fault. I actually like the roster significantly better than I did a year ago. I think Abdul Carter has the potential to be a top 5 defensive player in the NFL. Forget rookie, NFL this year. And Giants, the schedule's insane. Unless if you see, and again, we never know going into an NFL season. This could end up being a pretty average schedule. We never know. Maybe the teams in the NFC North all take a step back. Maybe the teams in the AFC West now, they have a big disadvantage with playing the 3 top teams in the AFC West in the first 7 weeks, so they wouldn't have beat up on each other yet. But maybe the AFC West teams aren't quite as good as we like. We don't know. But on the surface, this looks like an absolutely insane schedule. I'm with you. Only under 5.5 would be the only way to do it. And I don't even think there's a range to come back over if they start like 1-5 and the win total is 3.5. I don't even think I'd do that unless if they've been like losing every single close game, which they very easily could going into this stretch.
Yeah. No, I do think they could be competitive. But I mean, even 5 wins, even 6. So I think would be like a very good year for them, but I probably won't actually bet it. It's just definitely into the under here.
It's been the New York Giants here today on our road to all 32 teams getting previewed here on Sports by the Book. All these videos out. Check it out here on the channel. Make sure you're hitting subscribe to get all of our content. We're live Monday through Friday at the South Point Casino in the lovely Las Vegas, Nevada at 10 a.m. Pacific, Monday through Friday, as always, here at the South Point studio. She's Alex White. I'm Jeff Parles. We'll see you next time on the NFL Previews here for the 2025 season.